to another one of my thrilling videos. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my experience of shooting 8mm film for the very first time. Oh yes, and I was pretty excited and daunted all in equal measure. Excited because it made me feel like I was shooting a proper movie, because it was proper film, but scared that I was going to overexpose it or drop the reels and things like that. So yeah. But you know, I'll keep it as short and sweet as I can, because sometimes I get too enthusiastic in these videos, and whilst that's not a bad thing, I also don't want to lose you in the videos. So I think it was either just before the first UK lockdown back in March 2020, or just as it had got started, I ordered my first roll of 8mm film ever. And I don't know if you guys can see that okay, or guys and girls I should say. But that is the film that I ordered. It was a Fomapan R with an ISO 100, 2x8mm, and it cost me 15 UK pounds from Analog Wonderland. So if you're thinking of shooting, I recommend this film. And it's also a reversal film, which means when you get it back, you can pop it onto your projector, and that's exactly what I did. So I'll put the information about that in the description when I get around to editing this movie. So as you can see here, I've got two Kodak film cameras. The first one I got was the turret movie camera, and then I later acquired the movie camera. That's just what it's called, Kodak 8 movie camera, a little bit later, because I had a little bit of an issue with this, or so I thought, which we'll talk about shortly. So let's just have a little look at this camera here. So this is the turret camera, and the reason it is called the turret camera is because the lenses at the front can be pulled out and rotated to get the desired effect. On the front of the camera we have three colour coordinated lenses. I'm just referring to my notes. You have an orange one, a red one and a green one. So these three different coloured lenses have different functions, obviously. You have the orange one, which is your telephoto zoom lens. You have the red one, which is your regular lens, a 13mm, and you have the green one, which is a wide angle 9mm. If I didn't say, the orange one is a 24mm, that is your telephoto zoom lens. So let me just go through that one more time. Orange lens, 24mm telephoto, red 13mm regular, and green 9mm wide angle lens. So when you go out and shoot with this camera, first and foremost you have to wind it up, because it is mechanical. I have given this little wind just before we started, and mechanically this thing is sound. So let's say that I want to get a telephoto shot. I'm going to twist it round here. I'm going to pop up the viewfinders, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit, and then I just press the button on the bottom of the camera, and that means that you're shooting. So mechanically, camera was sound. The one thing that I did find, that while shooting with this camera, with the actual film inside, it would get a bit juddery and it would feel like it was getting stuck. So sometimes I just had to give it a little tap, which was fine. I thought it was going to affect the quality of the film, but it didn't. So just as long as I could keep making that reel turn inside, which I was able to, everything was fine. So it's got nice weight to this camera. I think it's a really pretty camera. Now that I know that it does work and those little juddery jumps within the camera are okay, I'll probably use the camera again. So that was I shot the first side of the 8mm film with that, and you'll see that in the video. It's all the stuff that's shot down on the beach. Although there is quite a lot of beach in it, the first part there's a lot of beach scenes in it, where I kind of go walking along the dunes and the sand. So that's the first part. So the second part was shot with this Kodak camera. This one again, it is a mechanical camera. It's solely an 8mm camera. You wind it up and you're ready to go. This has got a fixed 13mm f1.9 lens, and effectively all you get is what you see through the lens right there. There's no changing that. You've got your aperture control on the front, but I will go through a little bit more about this with some close-ups of the cameras. So when you're ready, just like the other camera, it's just a case of hitting the button on the front, hit right here. It's a good noise, and you're in action. On the side here you've got your meter, counter, things like that, but like I say, I'll go into that in the close-ups. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the close-ups now, going to show you a little bit more about the cameras, and then right at the end I'm going to put the film which I've added some music to, and then you can kind of like let me know what you thought of them. So let's jump into the close-ups of the cameras right now. Okay, so as promised, let's have a little bit of a closer look at the Kodak Turret Brownie movie camera. So as we have already discussed, we have the rotating lenses on the front. Now, if we have a little bit of a closer look down here, just to show you, that is your fire button. So if you want to start shooting, you press this button here, and if we hold it in the light just right, you might be able to see the 30mm recessed lens fire. Bit tricky. Don't know if you're able to see that, but I can assure you that it's working. So whilst we're on this part of the camera here, this is your film counter, and at the moment you can see that it is on empty. So how do we go about getting this camera ready to start shooting so we know how much film that we've got? So we then go to the side of the camera, and just whilst we are here, you just have a like a little kind of instruction diagram about how to get the best results from your film, and what f-stop to use. And the f-stop, or the aperture control, can be found hidden almost around the back of the camera here. It's quite difficult to show you, but if you can just see here, if I just rotate it, you can see 4, 5.6, and this goes all the way up to, I think it's 16, I want to say. Yeah, it goes all the way up to 16, so that is where your aperture control is. Okay, so how do we sort out the film meter? So what you have to do is you have to open the compartment here. You have to take off the area here where the film is loaded. So inside here there is a little cog, and what you have to do once you've loaded your film is you have to turn it onto L for loaded. And then the idea is that once you start shooting with heavy film, it is moving. There we go. You can see that you have to run it up until it gets to 25. Once you're there, you can stop, and then you know you've got 25 feet of film ready to start shooting. And it works absolutely fine. This is pretty straightforward. This is where you load your film. So you put your full film spool at the top there, and you follow, if I just take this off, you just follow the line around. It's actually quite straightforward. It's just sometimes these mechanisms here can get a little bit tricky, and as you're loading it onto the empty spool, what I would recommend is buying like a cheap old expired film from eBay if you're ever going to start shooting film, just to have a go so you know that the mechanism is working fine. But as you can see, it's lovely and clean. Just a little tip for all of you amateurs out there: make sure that your spool is going on the right way, because each side of the spool is slightly different. So for example, on this case with the arrow on, this will only fit on this spool in this way. A bit fiddly, but you see that will only go on this side of the spool in that way. It can't go on the other way. So in effect, you can't mess up putting your film on the wrong side. I wish I'd have known that beforehand. See, if I try and put this on the top here, that's just not going on. But if I rotate it and put it on the other way, that is how it fits. So just a little tip for you. So we're going to put the cover back on, and there really isn't too much more to this camera. Obviously we have the wind up mechanism here, and I just want to talk to you about the viewfinder on this camera, because when you're filming with a camera like this, it's not like modern cameras. You're almost having to guess a little bit more. So the way that this works is, if you can see at the front here, this viewfinder is colour coordinated, and as we spoke about, they match the lenses on the front here by colour. So what this is showing you is the field of view. So if you've got a close-up picture, then obviously you're going to be seeing what's inside this orange area. If you're going to have a wide picture, it's going to fit inside that green area. So the lenses correspond with that. The only thing that I struggled to understand a little bit was this part here, and I'm just going to read from the instruction book that I got with this. So this is apparently called the parallax slide. Now I don't know if you can see, but it says 15 there. It's either orange or red, and then that's basically just there. It says INF, which is for infinity, but it reads: raise or lower the parallax slide until the distance figure which corresponds closest to the camera to subject distance is visible along the rear sight. Raise the tab by inserting the thumbnail under the tab and pulling up. Lower it to pressing it down. So you raise it up and you can see the different numbers here. Now it doesn't quite explain this in the easiest of ways, but it says use the 15 setting for subjects at medium distances. With the eye close to the rear sight, frame the subject in the proper rectangle of the front finder. However, more positive framing of the subject can be obtained when using the orange rectangle for telephoto lens. So if I show you here, this is the instruction book, and it kind of is giving you that demonstration, but me personally, I just didn't find this very helpful. So when I was shooting, I effectively sometimes just did away with this and just used this front part as a guide. But the thing you've got to remember as well is that the lens is lower down. The lens is like down here. So you've got to make a little bit of compensation knowing where the lens is, like slightly lower or slightly higher. Because you've got to remember the fact that the lens is here, but you're looking through it at the top, and I think that is the point of this thing at the back, is it helps you get a better measurement. I mean, all of my shots come out fine, but it's just worth bearing in mind. And I know it's quite boring, but some people might shoot straight away and expect to see what they're seeing, and you might be disappointed to find that you're partially, say, looking at the sky or looking at the floor. So it's just worth bearing in mind. But that's it in regard to this camera. I really enjoyed shooting with it, other than the issue which I spoke to you about, which was when the reel of film, it was almost sticking. I don't know if it was the type of reel which I use, which is like a newer wheel, or maybe if it needed a heavier wheel. It still worked, it was just a little bit juttery. So that's the Kodak Brownie movie turret camera, and we'll now look at the Kodak 8 movie camera. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the Kodak 8 movie camera. So as we spoke about, this camera's got a fixed 13mm 1.9 lens. It's Kodak Ektanar lens, I like that name. So again, just to show you the front of the camera, when I press down the shoot button, which is located here, you should see some movement. It's a little bit tricky to show. Try and focus it up a little bit better for you, just bear with me. But effectively everything is working as it should. On the front of the camera, obviously you've got the viewfinder, and you've got, I believe this is a light meter. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. If I'm wrong and that's not a light meter, please tell me what it is. So on this side of the camera, you just have your normal wind-up wheel, all working as should be. And we come around this, similar to the other camera, you have a little guide for the type of film. I found this quite interesting. This is obviously old Ektachrome film. I had to look into this. So on the side here, you've got, it says film speed 10, film speed 25, and I believe when I checked this out, the film speed 10 was to do with black and white film, and 25 was to do with colour Ektachrome, because I got an old tin of colour Ektachrome, and I think it's called Ektachrome. Apologies if it's not. And film speed was 25, and when I looked into it, black and white was 10. So it's just helping you to try and get the right shots. So this area here is, again, is your film counter, so slightly different to the other one. So what you have to do is to open this up, you have to rotate here, and it's a bit tricky, this one, it gets a little bit sticky. There we go. Same as the other camera, you load your full load of film up the top here, you thread it through, and then you connect it to the empty spool, and then you put the lid back on like so. And then when you reset it, or when you lock it, when the actual film is in there, so when you lock it as so, the actual film counter here actually goes all the way back and stays over 25, and it worked absolutely perfectly. Apologies, let's let that focus. Yeah, it worked absolutely perfectly when I was using it. You've got your viewfinder here. Now I don't know if I can show you, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see through that. I'm going to try my best, hold on. Anyway, it's a bit tricky to show you, but when you look through that, there almost appears to be a little indicator which is reminiscent of a light meter. And I wonder if this is what this is for. Now, when I was using it, I didn't see the little indicator move up and down like I've seen other light meters do. So whether or not that's faulty, I'm not sure. On the front of the camera here, you've got aperture control. So again, similar to the last camera, it's on 1.9 and it goes all the way up to 16. So that is how you control your aperture. I had no problem shooting with this camera whatsoever. Worked like an absolute dream. Would use it over and over again. And what I'm finding with some of these older cameras is that the really basic, I mean, I'm talking like cheap as chips cameras, sometimes give you some of the better results. And the more expensive you go, the more there is things to go wrong. And I just always seem to find that these cameras were just very, very reliable, just like the old Super 8 cameras that I used in previous videos. So that's a quick look at both of those cameras. That is what they are. Now I'm going to share with you the footage that I shared, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So let's get on with it.
You're chilling in the rain. You're some kind of bird.